what's great about video, if you ever run a video on Facebook, or if you haven't, I think you should try it. Once you get 1,000 views on that video, it shows you your entire video by clips, and then it shows a graph of how many people have watched and what percentage of the video they've watched before they've gone off the video. And that's hugely valuable. It's hugely valuable data.
Welcome to Seven Figure Entrepreneur Podcast, the #1 podcast for bringing you behind the scenes with real online earners. No fake gurus here. And today we have my bro, Joel.T.Welch, local guy, Vancouver guy, used to be a big native guy. Now he's a big Facebook guy. He's got all the tips and tricks. We were talking about the other day. Zero association. We went for a nice little cruise the other day and talked about some video ads on Facebook, and he had some great insights on stuff. And I was like, bro, don't tell me anymore. Let's tell our viewers, because it's pretty fucking good. And so Joel, how about, and of course we got Tyler. Sorry, bro. I don't want to roll over you, but
everyone knows.
Your presence is there. You got your big fucking traps going there, and your purple shirt.
Right.
Like you're ready. You're ready. In sunny Florida. Oh no, you're
actually,
not.
I'm in
Florida.
Denver. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Forgot. Joel, let's talk about how you kind of got into this industry, man. Because you used to slang cars. You used to be a really good car salesman. Let's talk about that.
It sounds like the right transition, doesn't it? Car salesman.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, man. Before I got into affiliate marketing, I was selling cars. I did that for maybe 5 or 6 years. And I always wanted to learn sales. And I figured the best way to learn would be to learn to sell cars, because it looks super hard. And it is. And I started selling cars and worked my way up the ladder into management pretty quick. And the nice thing about sales, if it's a good dealership, of course, you actually learn some structure and strategy, how to put a deal together. And after years of just grinding out selling cars, I did very well at it, but super long hours, and you're always just attached to the dealership. I wanted to get out, and a good friend of mine had made the same switch out of car sales into affiliate marketing. And he's like, man, you gotta give this a shot. There's just so much more opportunity. You get to work from a laptop. You definitely don't need to wear a suit. And I was like, sweet. Let's do it.
That's always the seller, man. Anytime you tell a guy at the regular job he doesn't have to wear a suit, he's in day one.
Oh, I was in a suit more than I was in jeans for sure, because I'm working 6, sometimes 7 days a week, and keeping your shoes tight. I mean, I don't mind dressing up every once in a while, but when it's every day, it gets kind of tiring for sure. So
I mean, you looked great. Old Blue Eyes over there. Really pulling the suit together.
He's got the collar on today too.
I know, he's dressed so well.
I got a shirt on. Every once in a while, every once in a while, I'm gonna show up for myself.
Yeah. Was that Dustin? Dustin was the one that pulled you over originally, right?
That's right.
Good old
Dustin started shortly after me, and him and I were the top 2 sales guy on the floor selling cars.
Dope.
So we got on.
Who was number 1? That's what I want to know.
He has the record for sure between us both, and in fact, the store we were at, he has the record for that store and that store's history. So he is the record holder for sure.
I'm gonna call Dustin out, because I know he's gonna listen to this one, and he's never been on this podcast. And he every time I ask him to do an Entrepreneurs in Cars, he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna wait till my car gets done a little bit more," or "Oh, I'm just gonna wait for this." He's Captain Cop Out, but the dude can talk for hours, and he's got such great insights on shit that he should just jump on this. So
that'd be a 4-hour podcast for sure.
Oh, dude, it's gonna be a 2-part.
He's super technical, and he's the reason why I got affiliate marketing even working. Honestly, he had enough tools in place to show me the ropes to.
Yeah,
because
Dustin and I started with Facebook. Sorry to cut you off there, but then he moved over to native, and that's what you guys did, right?
That's right. That's right. He even back then, this is 6 years ago, he was already tired of the Facebook hammer back then. And from what I understand, it was a lot lighter hammer in those days than it is today.
Yeah.
It was one of those inflatable ones.
Yeah, totally. It squeaks when it hits you.
Yeah, it was fine.
You could go a little bit, move on, whatever.
Yeah.
He was looking for a little more stability and had a lot of systems in place. And so he's like, yeah, come on over and we'll put it together. little did he know, I barely knew how a computer worked. We didn't talk about that in the interview process.
Salesman's a salesman. I get it.
Yeah.
Totally. Give me a pen and a paper and someone to talk to, and we'll put the deal together. But put me in some code, it was a whole nother story. So,
But you learned.
yeah.
You learned, man.
Yeah, man. I even took some night classes at like college here in town, just getting some basic HTML, some Dreamweaver, because I realized like I needed some skill set, right? And that helped immensely. And he was impressed. He's like, "Wow, if you're going to go to class at night and grind all day with me on the internet, then that shows obviously you want it to work," which of course I did. And so that pays off huge.
So how long
you started working with? Go ahead.
How long did you do native for, roughly?
About 5 years, I think. Maybe about 5 years full time. Yeah.
And people that don't really understand native, and like I'm hitting this from like a 100-foot view here, is that it's you got to be so precise with it. It's so data driven compared to Facebook, or at least compared to like how a majority of people run on Facebook. Because with Facebook, you're relying on the algos and just kind of like, making Facebook happy to give you that good traffic in a sense. But with native, it's just like your landing page has to be dialed. Your offer has to be dialed. Your ads have to be dialed. Like CTR and CPC is fucking everything.
Yeah, it's super technical. It's there's a lot of moving parts, and you are involved with all the moving parts. So it's great because you have more control than Facebook. But then you have to control it though. You can't just like ignore it and let it fly like Facebook. So like it's a benefit in some ways because you have enough data to know that when you're getting hit with garbage traffic and when you're getting good traffic. And with native, typically it's a bit more stable once you figure out the path, right? But yeah, it's a lot of work because like some people are really good technical people, like they're more engineer based, and then some people are more creative, more copy, creative based. But in native, you have to do both because you still need a banger landing page. Like your advertorial is everything. So you need a long form advertorial, still need a hot ad, but then you got to put the engineer hat on and crawl through screens of numbers and data and calculations and tweak, right? And it's hard. It's hard, man. It's a hard balance. I like enjoyed it, but you get caught in traps. Like you would get creative and make all these creatives, they would bang, and then you would optimize them until your account like collapsed because you get stuck in the optimizing zone and you stop trading and you kind of like optimize yourself into the ground. So it's a hard balance for sure.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. It's I don't really miss it too much now that I moved over to Facebook the last couple of years. Like it's got
Facebook's for the lazy marketers.
Well, I would say this, like since I moved to Facebook, like 90% of the time I'm doing creative work, and that has its own challenges, no doubt, but it's like a little more playful as opposed to grinding numbers. There's still obviously stats in Facebook you need to pay attention to, and you have to watch trends and such. But with native, it's I think native's a hard one to teach because it's a hard one to grasp the whole picture,
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more Facebook like marketers than native as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
But I feel like that native, like all the processes and everything that you had, or processes depending on where you are in this world, it made you such a better marketer. Because I noticed when I dabbled in it, I really had to step up my game. And you coming over to Facebook now, I'm sure there's some of that you've had to let go, but other parts of it that really have made you that better of a Facebook marketer.
I think so. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of, I haven't seen in like a ton of other people's Facebook accounts exactly, but from what I can gather for sure, having conversations, like I still bring a bit of, I'm still fairly methodical testing. I like to do like a range of tests, even if it's a thumbnail, headline, or video lander, like they're destroying some stuff at the wall and hoping for the best. I do try to get in there methodically, but yeah, the catch is not getting too, for me at least, I find it's not getting too wrapped up in like the media buying component. Like I know some people are always trying to hack Facebook, and I know you can kind of hack it, but man, you can lose a lot of sleep trying to hack Facebook too. Like it's a huge system. It's this mystical black box that we don't really know for sure. We just kind of see results, and so I really try not to think about that too much. Like obviously there's some basics, using your pixel properly and audiences, of course, but coming from native, I feel like it taught some really good lessons, like set some really good standards to attack it in a different way for sure.
Awesome, man.
I think it was a good impression myself.
Do you want to fill people in on the kind of stuff you're promoting on Facebook these days?
Yeah, like, so I started in Facebook just only 2 years ago, year and a half ago. So it hasn't even been that long, but I'm in there full time. I made the full switch from native over. And for me, I still like this sort of like stability idea from native because where I come from, even though I know Facebook is often not super stable. So the niches I work in are mainly in health, kind of health supplement kind of direction. So not Nutra kind of stuff, but more like, joint health, vision health, pain, hair, some hair stuff, that kind of stuff. Because I feel like it's still really evergreen, but it's not going like full diet, full skin, that kind of stuff. Nothing against those. They're just much more challenging niches with compliance, of course. So,
no doubt.
Yeah, and then the offers I work with, I mainly work with a lot of offers that have VSLs or some kind of video component to them. Because I really like working with video. So I don't.
Yeah. So if anyone doesn't know what that is, that's like basically your landing page is a video. It's a video sales letter, right?
That's right. Yeah. Of course, when you're in there all the time, it seems pretty standard. I forget. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not just like a checkout page from the advertiser. It's like, here's a checkout, just build whatever your funnel is. I like it if they have some kind of story behind them because it helps immensely, I think. Yeah,
absolutely.
And we don't have to say their name, but you actually reached out to someone who was on our podcast, and that's a majority of offers that you run, right?
Yeah, exactly. They really love to focus on VSLs that I love and health niche, so it's like pretty straightforward. Yeah, it's a good match.
Win-win.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that you took the initiative to do that, man. Because there's a lot of amazing people on this podcast, and like I think almost every episode, people are like giving up their information to reach out to them. So it's cool to see that you actually ran with something. As far as like volume, what kind of like daily sales are you guys looking at?
It depends. Like lately, it's been a little bit choppy around November for sure, but I'm kind of in the range of about like 80, 120 sales a day kind of thing.
Nice.
So nothing too crazy, but it's been steady. It's been steady since July 1st. It's been steadily in those kind of numbers until November got kind of weird with the election and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
election was weird.
I went a little bit of a dip still, but it's on the way back up again. So my focus has been more stability than like the biggest day ever.
Yeah. Which is really cool, man, because like we've talked about this and I run completely different. Like I'll hit the big runs and then I just like die for a couple weeks or whatever, or like a month or so. But with your shit, like how stable it was and how long it lasts was really impressive to me. And can you kind of like touch on that and like sort of your thought process on how you went about keeping it consistent?
Yeah, I can try for sure. So yeah, like as far as stability goes, I still really like stability. Like it's great to hit the biggest days possible. I know a lot of people on Facebook use like a hammer for launching. You just go to the moon because you don't know when it's going to go or how long your account's going to last. For me, I was just looking for something a little bit more stable. So that's the approach I took. And my accounts, like I'm on the same account since June, and I haven't lost anything. So I've had, of course, a couple of quick denials, and I've had to apply and get them back because we all go through that, right? But I haven't been experiencing the hammer. And so for me, it's been a bit of I think part of it, I can't prove this, but I think part of it is going in a little bit softer up front. So like before, like even a year ago, something would work and I would just like double the spend every day or so until we like hit some kind of ceiling, right? And then I'd be on chat with the Facebook being like, raise my limits. And you're trying to get to like 50, 100K day spends as fast as possible. So I've done that. But I found doing that, you would hit these big days and the account would seem to always blow up. Like you may hit a 20K day or 30K day, which is amazing. And then your account's down. And like you said, you can be out for like a week or two or depending on how you operate in your systems and such, or if Facebook wants to respond to you. So this year, this summer, I tried going in a slower approach. So starting, a couple $100 a day in a fresh account and then just slowly inching my way up. And I found that I never hit like much of a limit. Like I never hit 5K and they capped me. I would just be able to spend through 5K, through 10K and beyond. And
interesting.
Yeah. It's like instead of scaling so hard and hitting these caps they put on your account to check your security, I guess I kind of earned my way through it, for lack of a better word. I guess I just saw over time that I wasn't getting denied. I wasn't getting banned. My quality was good. And I've never had.
Could we kind of touch on that, man? Because that's interesting. Like I know a lot of people like, you know, Gabe will spice up 100K worth of ads for the next day and he'll cut as he goes. But as far as like daily ad spend, did you just literally start with like 200-300 and then work to 1,000 and 1,500 and $3,000 and spend a day? Or how did that process kind of flow out?
Hey, you bet. Yeah, make sure you stop me as I go. I'll just run with it. The latter. Like, I would just go in really slow, not even with like a hard strategy. I would just really resist the urge to double spend immediately, which I know sounds super counterproductive as an affiliate, because I've done the double spends. Like I just said, I've gone for the huge days, and of course what you want, but I would just ease in. So like every 2 or 3 days would maybe up at 50%. So if I was only spending 200, maybe in 2 days I would do like 300, which sounds super slow. But within like a week or two, then I'm into the thousands, and then it's in the more thousands. And so like, yeah, it's kind of slow. But if your campaign is profitable and holding out, it went well. And then because I never bothered Facebook, I guess, they never bothered me.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean?
Moral of the story, don't bother Facebook.
So I want to touch on that a little bit more. So I gotta,
of course.
So how many campaigns are you setting up when you're scaling? Do you just have like a one beast campaign and then you just build on that budget over and over again until it hits that number that you want it to? Or are you like creating duplicates, multiples in there?
Yeah, it's a good question. Still kind of old school. I'm doing more of the duplicate approach. And then, so yeah, if something is fire, I eventually, once the account is well warmed up and things are working, I definitely want to scale. It's not like I'm not trying to scale, but I would duplicate quite a few, cut losers early in the morning that aren't, showing promise. And then any ad sets that were on fire, I would sometimes just raise those budgets up quite a bit. So if they were like $500 or $1,000 budgets, I may take them to $2,000 or $3,000 even early in the morning, and they would usually kind of hold out. I've heard from a lot of people that they're no longer doubling ad sets like that, but I don't know. It seems to still be holding up for me. I'm not too sure how it's really
interesting.
It's really good that way.
Yeah, it's weird because I find that Facebook doesn't respond to duplicating as well as it used to, but I'm finding better success with increasing budget on the CBO level anyway. It's tough because I also feel that you can hit a point where your ad set or your campaign's so good that Facebook kind of gives you a free pass and just like, you can do whatever you want, throw as much money at this as you can, and it'll keep producing those same quality results over and over again until it dies out. But with your method, it's interesting because it sounds like you're just doing both.
I'm doing a bit of both. Yeah, which sounds kind of messy. It's just, I find if I have one ad set, one campaign, and just try to put a major high budget on it, I've had a hard time having it hold out, even if the campaign is like solid. So I'm still doing a bit of both, where I get duplicate, cut some losers, and then it's usually only a couple ad sets that really rock for the day. So I want to make sure I find those. But if I just make one ad set, it's 50-50 if it takes off. Even still, it's still finding that traffic with Facebook,
So are you duplicating daily then? Like, every night do you create new ad sets for the day?
I didn't. I stopped for about a month, and I've gone back to doing that last few weeks, and it's working again for me to go back into the duplicate. I really have yet to have one ad set that lasts for like, I don't know, a week or two. I just find it's just really hard to make that happen. Like eventually the CPAs will just blow through the roof. Like I'll have like a $20 CPA with $1,000 spend, and then the next day it'll be $100 CPA. You know what I mean? And suddenly it's like, what the, like it's very unstable. So
yeah,
sure
interesting.
I'm still playing with that. I've been trying smaller audiences and bigger audiences and playing with the audiences to see if that can like level it out, but I still haven't quite polished that part. So
I feel like Facebook somewhat penalizes you for overlap, and like I think in the beginning overlap's more of a concern, but when you're scaling, when you have a good ad and everything that's like working well, I feel like overlap's not that big of a deal. But I think in the beginning when you're testing and really trying to get stuff dialed in, overlap is a really huge deal, and they penalize you for it quite a bit. Is that something that you are concerned about, or how do you kind of navigate that?
Yeah, I've been paying more attention to it the last few months because Facebook has been kind enough to actually warn you sometimes now that you have like serious overlap that they can see, right? So that's interesting. And so I've spent more time digging into the stats to see audience overlaps by ad sets and see how much they're stomping on each other. And yes, some days it's a bit of a problem where the overlap will get like really heavy, and then obviously your CPMs fall apart, everything kind of falls apart. So yeah, it's something I've just sort of been watching a lot closer. So I think that's part of like duplicating a lot and then cutting most of them in the morning and just kind of focusing on what's live. Because part of the reason why most aren't working is probably because overlap first thing in the day, I assume. But yeah, so I've been kind of paying a bit more attention to that for sure, because they seem to be harder on you for that for sure.
Cool.
Crazy.
But
all right, I kind of wanted to dig into, so a majority of your stuff, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is video ads. You're a strong believer in video ads, which is interesting because you go from video ad to VSL, so the double video. But I thought what was really cool is kind of how you optimize and break down your videos. So you use an app called Lumen 5 for videos. We've used it before. It's a common app. Anyone can use it. And basically you can just like piece together video clips and put word layover on it. Oh, you can do images too if you want.
That's right.
Which is really cool. So can you kind of talk about your video creation process and also like how you optimize that video once it's live and working?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a big question in a way, but also it's kind of simple. It's
you love to talk.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, a good friend of mine I was working with, he was big into video and he got me into it. And at first I resisted it because in my head I was like, I don't know, video seems kind of scary. It seems big. It seems like a lot of more work. But as I got into it, really I compare it to advertorials. So coming from native land, advertorials like anything from a page to maybe 7 pages, screens long, and it tells a story, right? Like what's the big idea? You know, what problem are you solving? Who's like the authority figure that solves it? How do they solve it? Blah, blah, blah. We've seen them for years. So I've just tried to bring that sort of structure and thought process into video. So when it comes to video creation, you need a script to start with, you need some words. So I kind of treat it like an advertorial, almost the same. Like, what's the big hook? What's the big problem? Who fixed it? How did they fix it? Why would you care? How can you use it, kind of thing. And
so do you have like someone actually actually saying the words, or is it all just kind of typed on the screen?
So for the most part, I do typing on the screen. Gotcha. I played around with hiring actors for sure. There's a lot of tools you can use on the internet to hire actors to do scripts for you. That's a real spoken script. And they work great too because people love it. You just have to make sure on Facebook though that you should put actor portrayal on that slide.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So I've got a lot of compliance experience too in the last year. And if you don't say it's an actor, later Facebook can figure that out when you scale, and then boom, that's a ban for sure.
Wow.
It's just like it's false. It's false material. Misleading. It's misleading is what they would call it, right? Because that person
doesn't every TV commercial generally have an actor?
So before I get into the process further, here's what I suggest for anyone out there who wants to get into video. Hop on YouTube and watch commercials. Watch TV commercials. Watch Dr. Hose. Watch, like the teeth whitening and stuff. And pay attention. On the screen, you'll see asterisks all over the bottom. If you look for them, there's asterisks all over the place. Like, not typical, may not happen, actor portrayal.
Gotcha. So you add all that to your videos as well?
Yes.
Good to know.
So if you have an actor in particular, it needs to say actor portrayal. It can be small, somewhere in the corner, and like a light, white font, but it needs to be there. And if you're using medical terminology, you should technically cite it on that slide as well, because any claim you make on Facebook needs to be backed up. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
So back to a few, comments ago, we were talking about stability and going a little bit slower. That's sort of how I've got to what I do through experience working with a few different partners and stuff in particular, is that Facebook is big on compliance. We all know this, right? And so if you want to keep your accounts, you have to play by their game. And one of their games is that clarity, on the video. So that's really important. But I don't hire too many actors. I like to just do the text on the screen, because most people on Facebook, the majority, are on their phone, and people don't have their volume on often on their phone anyway. So you need some kind of captioning and Lumen does a really good job of captioning. So you can choose colors and highlights and backlit, not backlit, overlaid, whatever. And then the person can just read the video as they're playing, which I find helps a ton. Right. So even on desktop, right? A lot of people just have the sound off on their Facebook. So that's
totally.
Yeah.
How does Facebook feel about a video that automatically starts playing sound?
On Facebook itself?
Yeah, or even on the VSLs, do they care at all?
Yeah, on the VSL they totally care. It cannot autoplay. It needs to have like a play button, and it has to have the ability to stop playing. Should have the ability to stop playing.
Yeah.
So there's a few parts here. Like you have what you're running on Facebook, right? And so you need to be Facebook compliant to run Facebook. So you can't make any unsubstantiated claims, right? You can't make any lies. If you're making claims, you need to back them up with something. And then from there, if you go to a landing page or your next page, which sometimes I'll do a typical lander, anything on there is the same. No unsubstantiated claims, no clickbait. They hate clickbait. And then from there onto the actual offer video, which, I don't own the VSL. That's the product owner owns that. I need to go through it and like use my own judgment if I can even run it. Because eventually when you scale, Facebook will go through the whole funnel from what they say with human eyes, right? So eventually someone will watch, and if they see anything they can't figure out or don't like, then you just get the ban hammer, right? So
yeah,
it's a lot of material.
Crazy. So let's go back to your process with the video, you're setting it up, and the optimization, because I feel like you had some really valuable points on that. We talked about that last time.
Right. So what's great about Facebook is it does a lot of things for you automatically, like obviously your audiences and pixels, which we all know about that stuff. But what's great about video, if you ever run a video on Facebook, or if you haven't, I think you should try it. Once you get 1,000 views on that video, they will lay out a graph for you when you go into the view graph setting under the ad, because there's like edit, duplicate, delete or something. If you go into the view graph, it shows you your entire video by clips, and then it shows a graph of how many people have watched and what percentage of the video they've watched before they've gone off the video. And that's hugely valuable. It's hugely valuable data, because anyone who's ran native or like typical landing pages, you'd be familiar with like Hotjar, and those are tools that do heat maps, right? So you can see where someone scroll down your lander and they drop off, right? The same thing on a video. I treat the video the same way. So sometimes you put in like a day or two building some video, you're writing copy, you're editing it, polishing it up, and you launch it, and say it's like a 30-second video, you can lose 90% of the people in the first 5 seconds. And then you're like, that's garbage. Like, that's just not going to work, right? And you can see it. The graph just goes like a nosedive, and then like 5% of people actually stick around and maybe click to your offer. And maybe they even convert, but you can just see that it's garbage because people hate the beginning. So once you have that data, I just treat it like a landing page where wherever they're dropping off on the video, because again, it shows you the video on the top of the graph. You just find the area of the video that sucks, because they're telling you where it sucks, and then go into the video tool and edit that component of the video. And so, maybe you just have a really crappy hook at the beginning, or maybe the slides are boring and look super stock and lame, and you just got to massage that component, relaunch it, and hopefully the graph gets out a little longer. And I just try to get the graph as long out as I can. And I basically treat that like a landing page CTR, right? So higher the landing page CTR, the more people get into the offer. The longer the watch time, the more people actually care about your product, and they're locked in to at least see the next part, right? And I think that's where my methodical, more like native background comes in, And so
totally.
I just look at the graph, and it tells me literally what to fix. I don't need to be like, all day about this video, right?
Yeah.
And, it's not perfect, but the longer your watch time, you just see your CPAs drop. You see like engagement improve. Even average cart value, like I reach out to the advertisers and I ask like regularly, what's the quality? Like, how's that looking? No, not just to get like bumps or whatever, but also I really want to make sure the quality is top notch. And so far it always has been. So it's really powerful. Yeah.
That's really
That's
cool.
awesome, man. That's a cool tip. I've never actually heard anyone talk about that before.
Well, so Gabe was saying to me, Gabe was kind of saying like, I don't know if I've heard of that before. And I was like, well, how else do you optimize a video? And he's like, I don't know.
That's hilarious.
I throw it in the dumpster and start over.
Yeah. Well, like the thing is with like a video too is like if you have a 30-second video, the hook is the most important part. When I say the hook, I mean like the big intro, like what's the punching headline that's going to capture someone. So there was a lot of energy has to go into the beginning, and you're always going to get a ton of drop off. But if you can just massage that a few percent even with each edit, it's not hard to edit a video once it's up instead of throwing the whole thing in the garbage.
No doubt. No, that's a great little tip, man.
Yeah, that's really cool. So when you're making like an ad itself, do you put most of your efforts into the video and the copy on the video, or do you also pay attention to what the ad copy is itself in the ad, or do you just find that the video itself is kind of like the 80% rule, like 80% of this and 20% effort into just the copy?
Yeah, like my gut always wants to go to the ad because of my native background and still lingers, where I really want to get some, popping thumbnail and some crazy headlines is what I want to do, but I fight that because I've learned, 80% is from the video, like you just mentioned, Gabe, and the trick, I would say, maybe the risk is a better word, the ad component on Facebook, like the headline and the copy that you're putting in there, there's a lot of room for risk in there. I think it's at least how I view it. I don't know, because like if you use anything that's really clickbaity or is really like shocking revealed results kind of terminology, Facebook hates that stuff, and they will start flagging your account in the back end, letting them know that there's things going on that they don't like. And they don't always let you know about these flags that happen like in the background if you ever get to talk to a Facebook rep and kind of explain that kind of stuff. And so the ad, to me, the copy, I just find it's really risky. So if you're just getting in there, getting really excitable and trying to get someone to click on that, that's a lot of room. That's a lot of room for error and for bans and for flags in your account. That's stuff I don't want. Like I said, no one wants that, but I focus being stability. I keep the copy super vanilla, like super actually boring. Like it's like, new product for joint pain released, and put the name of it, like some Joint Smooth. Joint Smooth offers relief for joint pain. And that could be like the headline, like literally that boring. But what it does is it points out to the product immediately. It says the problem. So if anyone reads it, it's clear as day what they'll be clicking. So hopefully the right people, hopefully they care about a joint problem. And Facebook loves it because Facebook doesn't want any surprises or like, switch, bait and switch kind of stuff. They hate all that stuff. And so, to answer your question, Gabe, the ad is boring, super boring and clear, and then the video does more of the heavy lifting, and then from there they get down the funnel where the real selling happens, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like
gotcha.
That's how I think about it. And I gotta admit, in the last 3 months, I've only had 4 ads even denied in the last 3 months.
Wow.
I launched a lot of ads. Like I'm putting out material on the regular. That's what I do full time. And so like I just keep Facebook happy enough to just get the person on Facebook into the funnel is how I think about it, right? I just want to get them out of Facebook. That's where like the danger is kind of thing, right? And to that point, I actually, in the summer, I was listening to a course by Ezra Firestone, actually. A lot of people know in the industry. And he made an interesting comment that stuck with me. In his opinion, he was saying, the highest CTR isn't always the biggest goal. You want the highest quality clicks. So even if the CTR is a little bit lower, but the people that are clicking care about your product, you don't want to get the wrong people on your funnel because it wastes time and messes your stats up. And that really resonated with me. So I use that in this thought process to just keep a really blunt message on the ad of what's going on.
Makes sense.
That's really cool, man. I feel like I need you to come over and like audit my shit because we run so opposite. And to be honest, I like the way I run. Like I think there's value in it for sure.
Yes.
But I want to be able to understand both sides of it, and I want to be able to do both of it because we run multiple businesses, and like some of my affiliate shit, I just want to blast it and hit as much volume as I can as fast as I can. But then other stuff, I want some stability out of it. And it's interesting. I feel like we talked about this before, is like as an affiliate marketer, you get this one track mind going and you forget that there's a real way to do business sometimes,
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this fucking click. And then you just end up fucking yourself, So I'm really trying to like talk myself off that cliff. and stop like jumping into the deep end of just being a shady marketer. And I'm not shady, but I'm just like, I'm doing vaguer stuff than what you're doing, you know?
And it's old habits kind of, right? I would find it's like old habits there. Like for me, it was like, you know, the last month or so, I don't even go on any forums lately because everyone has the same message. You know, Facebook's been terrible. And I felt the same pain.
I feel like that's all the time.
Look, yeah, man, a year ago, I was getting banned left, right, and center. Like last November, I think I lost 39 accounts in a month. Like I was getting banned. And I was still scaling and trying to make money. And like, it was like, it just felt like a merry-go-round. I was not really building any videos because I was just trying to make accounts work. So now I'm not being creative. And like, basically I just got to a really painful place where it was so much pain. Like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. So if Facebook's going to work, I got to pivot. If I want to keep using Facebook, and I still wanted to use Facebook because I mean, it's got obviously huge benefits behind it. So, and
I give you credit, 39 accounts is a lot of accounts.
Yeah. I was burning fast. Real fast.
Dude, but that's like that's a good point though. That like, I love, like, I hate the pain, man, of struggle, but I fucking love it because I always pull out and just like do like multiple times more than what I was doing, and I just like make big moves. So the pain's good, guys. Chase the fucking pain.
The pain is good. Well, the pain in this situation did force me to pivot, and now I'm in a much more stable place. I'm not gonna say it's perfect; anything could happen tomorrow, right? But that's actually a lesson I took away from Dustin. You mentioned Dustin earlier. Is like, get clear on what battle you want to fight. Like, what's the actual problem you want to fix? And for me, it wasn't accounts. I don't want to fix the account problem. I want to get into marketing. So like, that's what helped me kind of like pivot. Like, how do I solve the problem I want to solve, which is actually running videos and ads, not, chasing accounts. And that helped a lot to think in that way,
No doubt.
That's really cool. I can't wait till Dustin comes on here and gives his life lessons. He's got so many. Dustin.
Exactly. That's great.
That's cool, man. So what we kind of asked this question on most of the podcasts, but what would you say to someone who's just trying to get into Facebook marketing? What is your suggestion? How should they go about it? Yeah.
Good question. Yeah. I think it looks really intimidating, but it's just mainly, I would say compliance is the biggest part.
Interesting.
Like you need to be profitable, of course, and I'll talk about that too, because if you need no profits, you're not running nothing, right? But I think the slippery slope is getting into the really clickbaity ads and getting really aggressive, because as soon as you get aggressive, Facebook does bite back. And if you're new and trying to start out, you probably don't have some kind of account solution, whatever that could be. And if you lose your accounts and you're dead, you have nothing, right? So like, if you come in your first month on Facebook and 2 weeks in, you lost any account you had and now you got nothing, like, you don't want to be there. That's a really discouraging place to be. And so I would suggest, as boring as it sounds, first off, really read through their compliance docs. I know it's the last thing you want to do. Like, no one wants to read that stuff. I get it. But it's like, you really got to be careful about claims. You really cannot use shocking claims on Facebook. Like, you can, but they will totally catch you. So I think the first tip is just to think more in that fashion. So study stuff you see on Facebook. Like, what kind of ads are you seeing in your Instagram feed constantly? I see new products coming through, and I watch those videos and I read those landers, and I would say study those and see like how they're presenting the message and model that. If you're getting hit with these ads all the time for e-com or skin products or whatever, there's a reason why they're hitting you up all the time. It's because they're making it work. So how they recommend study the pros. Study the pros.
Yeah.
So sort of two answers there, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, that's good. Do you think that Facebook rewards you with better traffic if you are compliant?
100%. So, they give you these quality ratings for a quality. I get the quality rating, and you get a engagement rating, and then you get a conversion rating, basically. So if it's like poor, really poor, average, and best. If your ad quality is low, they give you like a little number, like 30%, 10% or whatever. If you consistently run low quality, they penalize your ad account, and then they'll penalize the page, and they can even penalize your domain, meaning they'll jack your CPMs up to try to squeeze you out the door, so you are getting garbage traffic. Because their biggest concern, I had a fortunate opportunity about a year ago to talk to a really high level Facebook rep and ask a few questions. And they're like, it's really simple. Facebook just wants a positive experience. And if your ad is low quality, you're making a negative experience. They just want to squish you out the door because you're hurting the environment that they have. So
their community, yeah.
Their community. Yeah. So if you're being sensational and you're being old school and clickbaity and bait and switch, that's really negative. And people complain to Facebook. Facebook gets complaints and they don't want that, right? So they'll just come to you and squeeze you out the damn door, right? So that before they ban you, they start to jack your CPM. You'll notice your CPMs start to rise oddly. Like one day, they're 30 one day, next day they're 50, and you're like, what changed? And it's usually there. Yeah. The problem is they just don't tell you. You have to figure it out. So that was a big tip.
Can you imagine if there was a red blinking light that said you're being squeezed right now?
I wish.
It'd be useful.
Dude, Google does it. Like I love it, man. Like I've been diving into Google search, man, and they tell you like your landing page quality score, they give you your ad quality score, your overall campaign quality score and stuff, and it tells you how to fix it. It's so cool.
Yeah, Google is awesome for that. Facebook not so much.
Yeah.
But Google, you can call Google and they'll answer the phone. Someone answers the phone there. You can talk to them. Facebook. Yeah.
Tyler even has a rep that calls him. He's one up on all of us.
I actually had a call from Google today. It was great.
Yeah.
Big deal over there.
Did you tell him to come visit me?
No. Somehow you didn't come up. I don't know how that happened.
It's our money, Tyler. Think of it that way.
Yeah, like a big piece that I keep bringing back to myself to help guide myself, and maybe this is another tip for a newbie, back to the question, is that, Facebook is an environment. People are, seeing cat videos or talking to their grandparents, they're keeping up with like old friends, right, or whatever. Yeah. And they're scrolling through the feed, looking at all the stuff, and inside of the feed and all the other places, ads are injected. So people hate ads. They made it very clear. No one really wants to see ads. They say they don't want to see ads, then they click and buy something. So it's obviously not true.
Yeah, right.
So I would argue that they also don't want to pay for Facebook. So there's that too. But the way I always look at it is that you need to be part of the ecosystem, meaning that you want to make an ad, but the ad needs to work. So go through your Facebook feed and what do you see? You see rough cut footage from someone's iPhone because they're filming them at a club or their birthday dinner or whatever, right? So if your ad looks similar, i.e. it's rough cut, filmed on a cheap quality camera, film yourself even with loose script that's not so aggressive, that looks like Facebook. So when someone's scrolling, they may stop and watch your ad. Obviously, they pick up it's an ad, but it feels congruent. And so the piece is being congruent. If you go into Facebook and you're punching people in the face with copy and video and stuff, right? They hit the little hide button on the ad. And when Facebook sees enough hide buttons, that's where you get the low quality and you get penalized.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's
what's funny, man? I'm glad you brought that up. I've always had that theory of, show people what they expect to see on Facebook.
That's right.
When you think about if you're going to sell anything, what traffic sources make sense, because some traffic sources will make far better sense than other ones.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And I at first I was surprised that these VSL offers that I run would work on Facebook, but after running and thinking about it, they're watching videos on Facebook. They just watched my video on Facebook. I'm taking them through a landing page into another video. They're in a video kind of realm a little bit, probably a bit more than a native, because a native they're reading news or articles and stuff.
Yeah, so Fox.com or something like that.
Yeah, so feed them a lander because they want to keep reading because they're in this reading zone. But with video, Facebook is kind of in the middle, and then YouTube, obviously over at Google, is their video intent is all there, and that's another video that is still down there. So I think not enough people think about the environment that they're running in, meaning their ads and funnels are too jarring, and so. Another thing Facebook measures is the bounce rate off your lander. So people come off the ad, hit your lander is weird, they bounce. And Facebook tracks that, and if too many people bounce, then they, again, low quality, and you get the penalized hammer. So
that must be helpful with VSLs, because I feel like a VSL really sucks you in. How long are your VSLs?
On the advertiser side?
On the landing page.
Yeah, they're super long. They're like 30 minutes to 40 minutes long, like
Wow.
movies kind of thing, right?
I wonder if that helps your quality, because my assumption is a majority of the people that are watching those are getting sucked into those, because I've watched them before and they're dialed in to keep you there.
Totally.
100%.
The guys that write those are amazing copywriters too.
Oh, dude.
Oh, they're paid top dollar. Yeah, and they're worth every penny, because man, they bring them away. So what I usually do to help the process is I'll use a landing page, but just as like a bridge, meaning it'll be like a one-page lander. So there's something they can land on. I can put a pixel in there too from Facebook. So I got some page view tracking, right?
Some data.
And then, but that lander, the whole point of that lander is just like to pique more interest, so more curiosity, more confirmation it's the right product. And I just say on the landing page, like, click here to watch the presentation, click here to watch a video, click here to learn everything in the next. But like, I'm telling them that they're going to learn something on a video, so do this. Like, it's so direct. There's no like mystery hidden stuff, right? And it just, I've tested so much of it, and it's the way to go. So you keep that person engaged and congruent, and they're not feeling jarred and not feeling like ripped off or scammed or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And man, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, and it sounds kind of boring, but again, Facebook loves it because they look, and the sales. I see the sales to prove it, so they're there.
No doubt. One question I actually had, man. When you're deciding what you want to promote on Facebook, what do you kind of look at? Like, do you kind of have like a checklist of criteria that a product or something needs to have before you like, hey, I want to take this on?
That's a good question. Yes, there is. So I don't currently I haven't jumped out of the health supplement niche too much. Last year I was running some e-com instead, like e-commerce products around Christmas. And so it's a bit of a different approach than supplements. But in the supplement side, for me currently, I want to run at the VSL, because I know with VSLs, one thing I have tested at length is not running VSLs. So asking the advertiser to let me run just advertorial to cart. And I've ran long form advertorials, kind of like a native funnel is called that. And my payouts dropped to half. And they were basically just like, we can't really support this because the VSL is just getting the average order value so high that we need to
That's actually a golden little tip right there, how you can actually increase the order value.
Well, because those videos, like I think Gabe mentioned, he felt compelled to keep watching them once you watch, and you can see the copy, how gold it is.
Totally.
They cover every objection. Like if you wanted to take one of those VSLs and make a landing page, it would be like a 20-page landing page probably, right? It wouldn't make sense. So what I look for VSLs, strong VSLs, and by strong, I watch through them myself and make sure that it is compelling, that the copy is strong, that they're covering objections, and that's really the big piece. I stay in the health niche, and I try to pick niches I research. So like say someone's like, hey, you should run this offer. I get on Google and I try to get a sense of how many people are affected by that issue. I run in the US. So like, I don't know, a random example is, someone's like a blood sugar or a diabetes offer. I get on there and see like how many people are suffering from diabetes. That's obviously a huge market. And when it's a huge market, I know that it's worth attacking. And then the biggest question I have is what sets this product apart from any other product. So like, what's the big idea? So you either need like a really cool idea in there, or you need a serious authority figure, because an authority figure, like an actual celebrity that's actually on the product, that'll bring it home too. So that's really what I look for, man. Like, it's got to be a VSL that's strong. It has to have something that makes sense. If it's just like the same as everything else out there, I don't really want to fight with everyone else. It's already flooded. There's obviously a lot of marketers running a lot of things out there. So I try to find something that's got like unique. So really, that's really about it. And it has to be Facebook compliant. So if the video out the gate is like, oh, my grandfather died from this thing in the hospital and I was in tears or whatever, it's like, no, you can't be writing that. You can't be writing that kind of stuff on Facebook. It was like
that sounds like the intro to Rebecca's offer. I'm not even joking. Rebecca's my wife, and she's in the middle of making an offer right now. And it's done. Really? She's just she's waiting to test it. Yeah. So
wow, good for her.
So
maybe Joel will run it once she removes the dying grandfather part.
Fingers crossed.
Polished up the front. So back to that whole structure. I want it to work and be compliant. So I got to watch the video, make sure they're not using crazy stuff, and make sure that the page that the person lands on has a play button and a reasonable headline, like just some basic stuff that Facebook likes. And if it has all that, then like, yeah, I'm down. I'll throw a video at it for sure and see what happens.
Do you ever ask the advertiser about what their average order value is?
I do. Yeah, I do. They don't always want to tell you, of course, and you need a relationship for that kind of information. So a big part of my whole business approach is the relationship side. I come from car sales, like we talked about. I love talking. I love people. I actually don't like sitting on a computer all day. It's not my happy place. Oddly enough, I work on the computer. So I work a lot in relationships for sure. I just like people. I'm just a social kind of guy. So with whoever I'm working with, I only work with networks and people that I really respect, that you know, that I appreciate. And I really work that relationship, not in a manipulative fashion. Like, I actually like having that positive relationship. So if you build that, then it's not hard to ask questions like that. And they're more than willing to tell you, because instead of just being like an affiliate and a network or an advertiser, you're actually like a partner now. I like that word. Like, I want to partner with somebody and work together. So I
think there's a lot of value in that too, in bridging that gap between the affiliate and the advertiser at the end of the day. Gabe and I had a whole discussion about that yesterday, actually.
There you go. I think it's missed a lot, especially in the affiliate space. So many affiliates are alone, right, by themselves on a computer, trying to smash this internet stuff, right? And so you kind of think in like a lone wolf mindset, but there's so many people behind the scenes of what you're doing. You know, the server, the hosting at Facebook, you know, the advertiser, whatever,
call center, whatever it is.
The call center, exactly. Lead gen for sure. And like, the thing is, at the end of the day, all these people are trying to make profit, but they are still people, right? They still have family. They still have bad days, good days like you do. And man, if you can just like make that connection, I can go miles for you, right? Like, it opens so many more doors. And I care about value. One thing I learned running native, like with Dustin, is we always went for top value, top payout. That was one of our competitive sort of advantages when we were competing in a niche. And I kept that with me. So what I do now is I'm not just trying to be Facebook compliant. I want like the top people coming through, and my payouts reflect that. And they're more than happy to pay me higher payouts than street, because they know I'll bring the volume once I do, and like I'll stick around, right? So
no doubt. Joel, the friendly affiliate marketer. I love it.
The friendly affiliate. I should get a T-shirt.
You should, man. We should.
Friendly marketer.
Especially when Pool Party Joel comes out, he's extra friendly.
Can you explain Pool Party Joel?
That's hilarious. That's another podcast.
Let's just say Joel likes pool parties in Vegas. I mean, who doesn't?
I'm all chill until you get 4 quadruple drinks down to the pool, and then it's like real social Joel comes out.
I guess since you've kind of just got into this affiliate game again, man, like you haven't really hit a affiliate summit yet. So are we all going to Affiliate Summit West next?
Is it still going
on? If it happens? Oh, not this year. I'm assuming it'll be 2022.
22. Ugh. That's disrespectful to say.
Yeah.
Dirty. Yeah, I always go to the affiliate world conferences for sure, like Bangkok, Spain.
I think that's the last time I saw you.
Yeah, I think so too. Bangkok, I think a year ago, right? I guess.
Yeah.
And then I really enjoy those conferences. And speaking of that, there's huge value again in relationships, conferences, all that stuff. I'm a huge believer in again, real people, man. And like, it's good to have some friends in the biz, not just associates, right? So
absolutely,
I think and even back to your newbie question, that's another tip for newbies. Be like really, chat up your reps, and like don't just ask, like communicate back and forth. What are you seeing? And you'd be surprised how many reps out there, when I say reps, I mean at the networks, will work with you. Like maybe they've got an idea of like some angles that have been working. Like they're not going to give you material per se, but they may be able to steer you in a direction, but you have to, you have to kind of earn it, I would say.
Totally.
Someone can give you material.
Yeah,
it's true. Some give you material too. So
this game is. I was just going to kind of like add on to what you were saying. One of the biggest pieces I think that misses from our industry is the personal touch. So when you can add that in, it just gives you a leg up on other people you're competing with. Like you say, it could result in higher payouts, new angle ideas, maybe advertising material, or even again, like when new offers come up, generally they'll only have so many affiliates they'll initially test with. So if you're in their quote unquote good books, you could lock down an offer that no one else even has access to. So the personal relationship, exactly what you're saying, it's super key.
Yeah, that's right. And that can be what separates you from your competitors. And especially if you're not like deep established and you don't got access to hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue for scale and funding stuff yet, you need every leg up you can get. So what can you bring to the table? And
totally
having a good relationship will go a long way, right? So it's critical to keep that in mind, right?
No doubt.
Cool, man.
Very cool.
So if anyone wants to reach out to you, are you open to them doing so, or?
Yeah, totally. I'm just trying to think. I don't even have a website right now.
Oh, you don't? No, it's just, I don't know, man. You can do your IG, you can do your Skype, you can do whatever you want. My suggestion is IG, so you have some sort of like barrier.
Like Instagram and yeah. Skype's fine too. Actually, either one's fine, really.
Is your Instagram still Pool Party Joel?
No, that's my secondary private account.
You should make it Pool Party Joel. For sure there is. I'm going to look right now. I just tagged you on something.
Let's see. Pool Party Joel.
Yeah, it's worth looking. My Instagram is like JW604 and my Skype is Joel.T.Welch. It's just my name. But
good up the Skype.
One of those for sure. Yeah,
dude, you got to get Pool Party Joel because it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Does it not?
No. There's a hashtag and it's Joel.
That's amazing.
It's a join photo.
The problem is that I don't. It's like with COVID, there's no pool party material. At least not in Canada.
Dude, it doesn't matter. The fact that you could just get that as your name is amazing.
I'm gonna have to make a new account.
Hilarious.
That is awesome. Everyone type Pool Party Joel.
Hashtag Pool Party Joel.
Okay, we're definitely going to Vegas next year, I guess, whatever we're probably able to.
There will be no pool parties because it is January.
Yeah, that's fair. That's right.
Still warmer than Vancouver, though. Well, that's cool, man. Thanks for coming on here. Appreciate your time.
You bet. It's a pleasure. I love talking about this stuff. It's always fun.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone listening today. For everyone watching, please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube. And for everyone listening, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Whatever one is your poison. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.